Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the 2020 San Francisco Fleet Week virtual STEM program. I'm Gil Sanborn. I'm a member of the Fleet Week Planning Committee and also a civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army, known as a CASA here in Northern California, and I'll be your host today. Let me start by briefly introducing our panelists. First, Captain William Scouten, Executive Officer, U.S. Navy Hospital Ship Mercy. Major David Samuel, Recruiting Support Officer, San Francisco, United States Marine Corps Reserve. Captain Michelle Andelon, Cyber Network Defense Team, California National Guard. Major Stephanie Radford, Deputy Commander, San Francisco District, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And Ensign Trevor Layman, Public Affairs Officer and Marine Science Officer on the U.S. Coast Guard Icebreaker Healy. Our panelists represent each of the three components of our military: active duty, which is full-time military service; reserve, in which an individual after basic training and military job school typically serves 1 week in a month and 2 weeks in the summer and is subject to call up to active duty to support national missions. And then the National Guard, which includes the Army National Guard and the Air National Guard. Those are state organizations and serve under the direction of their governors, except like the reserve when called up for national missions. You're going to hear today about different paths that people take when they join the military. Some enlist after graduating from high school, all receive advanced training for their job specialties, and many attend college during their enlistment to gain their degrees. Some join ROTC programs in college and receive their commissions as officers when they graduate. And some, like two of our panelists, enlist with college degrees and then attend officer candidate school to gain their commissions. People who join the military generally select an occupation specialty when they join, and others make the selection at some later stage. For everyone, there's a continuing flow of training and education opportunities that continues as they advance. This afternoon, each of our panelists will talk about the unique paths they followed into the military and the specialties they became trained in. And then with the use of short videos, they'll discuss the application of particular STEM technology and skills. Mae Jemison, who with an engineering degree from Stanford and later a degree in medicine, was the first African-American woman to go into space. She said the following about STEM: the best way to get students involved in science and want to follow either science careers or incorporate science in their lives is to expose them to the various jobs in STEM. STEM is broad, from biologists to electricians to nanotechnologists to people building fusion engines. It's a wide range of things. In 2010, San Francisco Fleet Week began the Humanitarian Assistance Disaster Response Program. While you on the public side continued to see tremendous displays of ships, aircraft, and incredible flying, what you didn't see behind the scenes were the teams from local, state, and federal civilian and military authorities who gathered each year during Fleet Week to plan coordinated disaster responses here in California, with a particular focus on a major earthquake in the Bay Area. The Humanitarian Assistance Village became a permanent fixture at Fleet Week as a result of those planning exercises with displays of personnel and equipment, and the STEM Village was added in 2017. This year, our virtual program takes the place of the STEM and Humanitarian Assistance Villages, and our panelists will present 5 different uses of STEM technology in the military, with a particular focus on support to the civilian community. Let's get started. Captain William Scouten graduated from Davidson College with a BS in chemistry. He was commissioned in the Navy upon earning a degree in medicine from Wake Forest. He's been a general medical officer, but for the bulk of his career has followed a specialty in pediatrics, serving Navy families, but also on numerous humanitarian missions, including to Haiti, following its devastating earthquake in 2010. Currently, he serves on the Navy hospital ship Mercy, and he's going to talk to us about the service of that ship in the COVID crisis, as well as on other humanitarian missions around the world. He's received numerous awards, including the Legion of Merit, the Meritorious Service Medal, and the Army Commendation Medal. Perhaps, Captain, you could, before you get into the program, you could begin by talking about the various steps and decisions that led you to your career as a doctor in the Navy, and then take us through your presentation.
There we go. Thank you very much, Mr. Sanborn. It's been a long road. I started off in high school, and I took a broad number of classes, including science classes. Went to college actually wanting to be a minister, and somewhere in the middle of college ended up taking a detour down the science route and became a chemistry major. Following college, I applied to medical school, got in, and tried to pay for it for about a year, and did so, but took out some pretty substantial loans. And so I made a quick decision right then and there to look for a way to pay for my medical school. The Navy, through the Health Professions Scholarship Program, offered to pay for my tuition. They provided a stipend for books and equipment and housing. And so it seemed to be a good deal. And, you know, while other branches of the military offered similar scholarship programs, I think the Navy's history, tradition, the duty stations, the really smart white uniform, it really sealed the deal. And at the time I was applying to the Navy, or for the Navy scholarship, certainly Top Gun helped.
Very good, thank you.
When you ask about why I went into pediatrics, I actually chose pediatrics and pediatric endocrinology because of the potential impact I could have, I thought, on parents and teachers and the future leaders of our community. So I felt like I could make a difference. I also have a knack for asking questions and doing research. So pediatric endocrinology has many unanswered questions. So the ground was very fertile. And I must say, you know, while I've been in the Navy, you know, for 25, 26 years now, I practiced pediatrics in an office. I practiced in a tent. I've practiced in the middle of the field, and I've practiced on a ship. I've practiced during good times and certainly in the wake of disaster.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm. So with that, I just like to say that the United States Navy really supports global humanitarian needs and recently supported the domestic response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Navy provides immediate support on request in the wake of a natural disaster. Even like a natural disaster in San Francisco, we will be one of the first teams on the spot. Usually a combatant vessel will use logistical and organic medical resources to provide early response, and then specialized medical care can be provided by a hospital ship platform. Also, expeditionary medical facilities may be deployed to provide medical services and support ashore. Brendan, why don't you cue the video? So hospital ships USNS Mercy and Comfort were recently deployed in the midst of the COVID-19 surge in Los Angeles and New York City, respectively. USNS Mercy served as a referral hospital and relief valve for state and local healthcare providers while deployed to the port of Los Angeles. U.S. Navy personnel were also deployed ashore to support contingency medical care locations. While on mission, the medical professionals aboard Mercy treated a wide variety of patients and provided high-quality medical care, including procedures like plastic surgeries, interventional radiology, and we even changed a cardiac pacemaker. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics knowledge is foundational for many positions in the United States Navy, from driving a ship to administering an immunization in the clinic. STEM factored heavily in the recent deployment to Los Angeles, enabling those embarked to provide life-saving care to patients transferred to the ship, while also mounting a COVID-19 response plan that decreased the transmission of the virus and protected patients and medical professionals on board. The medical field is made up by a wide spectrum of professions whose foundation is in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Apart from the usual mentions, like doctors, nurses, and other health professionals, the Navy has hospital corpsmen, clinical support personnel who are the front lines of Navy medicine. Our hospital corpsmen are enlisted personnel with personal goals and objectives to enter STEM fields. Many join the Navy after high school or some college, complete basic accession training, which we call A school, and then go on to learn advanced skills in Navy C schools. They become technicians in radiology, physical therapy, laboratory, pharmacy, biomedical repair, and preventive medicine. Others may learn to be culinary specialists or dietary technicians. The skills learned and technical qualifications earned are recognized in the civilian sector and enable easy transition when hospital corpsmen are ready to seek a job outside of the Navy. Epidemiology or public health are professional categories that may not immediately jump to mind when thinking of STEM. However, both epidemiologists and public health professionals use math, science, and technology to solve puzzles of disease, transmission, and implement strategies to control disease. The Navy employs these professionals to investigate outbreaks, and these professionals support international efforts to study and prevent the spread of Ebola, COVID-19, malaria, dengue, Zika virus, and others. The Navy also has 8 medical research laboratories located around the globe with uniformed scientists who are usually officers with advanced college degrees dedicated to improving the health and readiness of our active duty service members and their families. There are research psychologists, physiologists, epidemiologists, infectious disease specialists, data scientists, and more. The research they conduct not only helps our military, but often has practical application for the broader American public. Their medical research findings are shared with the scientific community by publishing in scientific journals and through collaboration with industry and academia. One of our labs here in California, the Naval Health Research Center, conducts surveillance on many different infectious diseases, including influenza, and the data that they collect each year helps inform the annual flu vaccine. The U.S. Navy responds quickly, providing support to the domestic and international communities in the wake of natural disasters or infectious diseases that do not respect international borders. And when seas are calm, the Navy brings medical, dental, engineering, and veterinary resources to the nation's neighbors, helping to prepare for and mitigate the effects of future natural disasters. The hospital ship USNS Mercy, for example, participates in the Pacific Partnership mission. Mercy is a platform for collegial exchange, professional growth, and development with medical professionals and first responders from partner nations around the globe. Side by side, we prepare for emergencies and learn how to effectively respond together should the need arise. STEM opens a door to a world of opportunities, and the U.S. Navy offers a variety of paths for students with an appreciation for and an aptitude in STEM to serve the nation while gaining skills and earning money for college. Sailors in the Navy learn to be an accountable, responsible leader. They are part of a team that serves a mission that is bigger than self. Our Navy has a vital role in protecting and defending the American interests around the world. More than 70% of the earth is covered by water, and more than 90% of the commerce is conducted by sea. Whether on the surface, beneath the waves, or in the air, young adults use their background in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics to keep the sea lanes open and ensure our Navy is prepared to accomplish its mission. Thanks.
Captain Scouten, perhaps you could chat just a couple of minutes about the skills and discipline that you've gained from your career and applicability for someone in your shoes in terms of civilian paths if people decide to move from the Navy into the civilian community.
Yeah, absolutely. While in the Navy, and this isn't just an officer or a physician speaking, this is at all levels. I think we all gain a broad experience as professionals. We learn to be team members, and we also learn to be leaders. I've had the privilege to care for patients and lead sailors. I've had an academic career, a technical career. I've had administrative responsibilities. Those are a lot of things that I would not necessarily have had if I had taken a job in the civilian sector straight out of medical school. I've also learned to mentor sailors and help them to grow as professionals and as leaders. Certainly all of the skills that I have are directly translatable to the civilian sector. I have a board certification from the same certifying body that certifies every pediatric endocrinologist in this nation, and I maintain 2 state licenses. So we are the same as the civilian sector. We just wear the cloth of our nation. I think the one thing that sets me apart from my peers, though, is the leadership and experiences that I've had in the Navy. And certainly those experiences will make me a better leader in the civilian sector as I transition out in several years. So again, it's not just at the officer level. This is all the way down at the E1 level, and certainly in E1 can go all the way to Admiral, just like Admiral Borda did.
Thank you, sir. Let's turn to Major Samuel. Major Samuel began his career in the Marines by joining after college, where he earned a degree at New York University. He began as an enlisted Marine, but then applied to Officer Candidate School and was commissioned as an officer in 2004. Major Samuel has made a number of deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan and East Asia. After a distinguished career in the active component, he transferred to the Marine Reserve and earned his master's in business administration from the University of San Diego, paid for under the GI Bill. He now serves as a reserve support officer for the San Francisco recruiting station and works full-time for PricewaterhouseCoopers in Silicon Valley. He received a Purple Heart Medal, 3 Navy Commendation Medals, and numerous combat awards. Major Samuel, thanks for joining us today. Before we talk about your area that you're going to cover today, 3D printing to solve complex problems, could you begin by talking about the various decisions that caused you to join the Marines to begin with, and then follow the path that you did?
Sure. Well, thank you, Gil, and I really appreciate the time to talk today. You did a great job covering my bio. I don't know what more I can say, but I will say this, that when I was in high school and when I went to college, joining the military was never top of mind for me. I did go to New York University. I did study liberal arts, and I did graduate and had a job, and I was in New York City on 9/11. And being in New York City on 9/11 really changed the way that I looked at the world and my place in it, where I fit. And I immediately began, talking to different recruiters and deciding which career path to take. I really wanted to actually go into the infantry, but the officer selection officer said he didn't have any open billets or quotas for ground officers at the time. He said he only had pilots available, and I didn't want to fly. So then, he said, you can always talk to the enlisted recruiter. And I did, and he said, yeah, we'll take you. So I joined and I enlisted. Immediately was, sent to Afghanistan with an infantry battalion. That's, my first occupational specialty. And then I decided to apply for my commission, which I was accepted to OCS. And after my officer training, I again chose infantry and went back to the Fleet Marine Force, where I had the opportunity to serve as a platoon commander in Iraq. After that, I was able to get into recruiting, where I learned a lot about, sales and interacting with, other MOSs, because in the infantry, you don't really get to do that as much. And it really opened my eyes. I actually did get an opportunity to complete one master's degree in science and leadership while I was on recruiting duty. Then I went back to the infantry as a company commander, and I had 200 Marines now and deployed to Southeast Asia. From there, I decided to get out of the active service and go to business school. From there, again, paid for by the GI Bill, I went into the reserves and then into mergers and acquisitions consulting with PricewaterhouseCoopers, where I continue to serve as a reservist, supporting recruiting operations in the Bay Area, while also having a civilian job. So it's been a very I would say non-traditional route, but I would venture to guess that if you canvass, all the branches of service, everyone's got a very different route to where they are today, and many life lessons learned along the way. Now, when we get to this video, the Marine Corps may not always be thought of as, the STEM branch of service. We're often thought of as, the tip of the spear, and, Captain Scouten's ships can, take us there. But in actuality, we do embrace, STEM education and, what can be done to reimagine, the possible. And the video you're about to see is a group of our logistics Marines that, were facing a problem where, it would take months to get parts for certain, heavy equipment, but they were used to a new program to use 3D printing to create parts, on the battlefield so that they could get their equipment back in service right away. So it's really interesting. And with that, Brendan, can we please watch the video?
You turn up the volume, Brendan. Brendan, we don't have volume on this.
Breaching vehicle, which is a variation on M1A1A. The vehicle went out and I actually got some time playing in the dirt, kicking up debris, and proving that the impeller fan was doing its job, removing that debris from the airfield. Right now, if you need this part, you have to wait months to get it and pay over $1,500. What we're trying to do here, time it takes to go from I need it to I have it, can be a matter of days instead of months.
So with the van-axial fan, also known as the impeller fan, the M1A1, that was a complex project, but we approached it from two different standpoints. We tried to replicate it from nothing, as in we took a pair of calipers, a trained eye, and we took measurements, and we inputted it into the computer-aided design program. We were able to print one out of plastic and run it on the tank engine. We wanted to ensure that we had the most accurate product we were putting out there. So we took the metal fan, we sent it out to get laser scanned for accuracy. We took that file back, ensured that it was in compliance with form, fit, function, and then we sent it out to get metal 3D printed. Not too distant in the future, we're going to be able to laser scan it ourselves for complex features such as the fan. We'll be able to also metal print it in-house, and we'll do everything here, which will then shorten the time it takes to get a product in and to push a good product out.
It's been exceptional performance, and they've had a vision and a thought on where they wanted to go, and they put it out there and they moved toward that together as a team. And it brought a lot of people into this, and they came up with a really nice outcome here. So they have had strong performance and just kind of with a good vision and a good approach unified throughout the command. So it's been really neat to see kind of an idea come all the way to fruition to kind of employment. Sergeant Schneider came up with this design. She's had some help with some of her more experienced Marines, and they came up with a solution to a problem that plagued the Marine Corps in a lot of areas.
One of the biggest challenges would be knowledge. We attended Solidworks training classes in San Diego, and those do help a lot. It's a perishable trait. The more you work at it, the better you get. Take the part that needs to be replicated into the X-Men trailer, where we'll start on the computer and we'll start using SolidWorks to design and measure and replicate our product here. So once we take the measurements, we go ahead and try to replicate it here, which is SolidWorks, to our final layering. So this is what's going to then be able to send it to the computer, and it will show you each tool path that is going to go. So that's there, save it again, and you're able to send your part to the control center. Control center is just placement for the printer. So this is the printing bed, essentially. And from there, it shows you how much model material, how much support material, and how much time it's going to take you to print it. And then from there, you're able to print the job.
I see that 3D printing is a way of the future, but it's always going to be necessary to have a machinist there to get those specs. The 3D printing is never going to get it exactly on point, and it's also always going to have to be some type of post-processing, which is going to require machining.
So this project, this has gone on for months, and the reason for that, it's new field, it's new territory that we're trying to explore. If we look back and analyze all the lessons we've learned, and we were to get a new project similar to what we've done now, we would cut that time to a fraction of what it would take to accomplish all that. But because we had to work together and we had to work with outside entities, there was a lot of lessons learned. It was all new territories for all of us.
It's extremely significant. This is going to be one of the first metal pieces that has successfully gone through this process. This has proven a concept that it's been a goal of Commandant for a couple of years now. to get the metal printing, you actually start solving supply issues, delays in the supply chain and readiness.
I think that what the Marines really focus on is they always kind of have that innovative spirit. When you can get the technology in the hands of the Marines, and you give them a little bit of training, and you give them a little bit of a vision on what you're trying to do, they will do amazing things. It's a case study. It's a glimpse into what's in the realm of possible.
Pretty cool video. Apologize for the audio, though. It didn't seem to be as good, but I think you get the point. That the Marines were working together to use technology to solve a real problem. And I think it came through in that video.
Major Samuel, what I saw there, and I've seen in terms of lots of interactions with Army units down to the platoon level, was the ability of a platoon to, in a small group, to operate as a team, and also the delegation of authority and pushing down responsibility to low levels. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the leadership elements there and how they come into play in an exercise like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it may not go without saying, but I think the Marine Corps likes to pride itself on being a leadership school. It's ingrained in every Marine, enlisted and officer from the time that they join, the importance of the rank structure and how we organize ourselves in small teams, and then give everyone an opportunity as they progress through the rank structure to be responsible for others and to foment that leadership and also that teamwork at the same time.
Thank you. Now, in terms of your career, you are now out into the workforce, and what was it about your Marine experience that helped you and made you attractive to your current employer and gave you the capability to shift from a military environment to a civilian environment?
I think it was a couple things, Gil. I think one, the fact that I had 10 years of active duty showed maturity. The fact that I was a company commander and had led over 200 Marines on a couple deployments showed my ability to lead and manage folks under stress and in austere conditions, that I could handle, almost any business problem that came my way. In addition to that, I would say it would be advanced degrees. Since I have a master's of science and a master's of business, I think that the employers also like the fact that I did, have, more education than the average civilian. Another thing that I appreciated of that is that it was at no cost to me, so I was debt free. So, using the real life experiences that I had and then coupling that with my advanced degrees, I think is really what set me apart.
Thank you, Major. Let's turn to Captain Michelle Andelon. Captain Andelon joined ROTC at California State University in Sacramento and was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Signal Corps, which is responsible for communications. She then became a platoon leader with the California National Guard's 40th Infantry Division. The 40th ID was the first infantry division to be led by a woman, Major General Laura Yeager, who now also commands the California Army National Guard. Captain Andelon is a full-time Guard soldier in the Guard's Cyber Network Defense Team with advanced certification as a certified ethical hacker. She's received numerous awards, including the Army Commendation Medal, the Army Achievement Medal, and the National Defense Service Medal. Captain Andelon, again, perhaps you could give us an overview of the various decisions along the way from high school through your education that led you to the Guard first and then into cyber before we move into your video.
Yes, I can, Gil. So upon graduating high school, I had both interest in going to college and joining the military. So when I hit that milestone, I decided to go to college, but within that first semester, I also enlisted in the California National Guard through the SPLIT program, which allows you to go to basic training one summer while you're not in school, and then go to your MOS school, which is like your specific training the following summer. So when I came back from basic training, I started my second college semester, and then I learned about the ROTC program, which is the Officers Training Corps program, which allows you to commission into the National Guard as an officer. So I took that path. So my degree was in a nutritional field. However, after joining the National Guard, I learned that I was interested in communications and cybersecurity. So I decided to follow that interest, which led me into where I am now. So as an officer in the National Guard, I work within tactical communications. This experience has allowed me to train on learning about radios, networking, and security to understand the military equipment and ensure that our troops can communicate on ground at all times. The second role is my full-time position within the Cyber Network Defense Team, which is within the California Military Department. I have received on-the-job training and hands-on experience to defend against cyber threats. So within both of those positions, I've really been able to hone in on cybersecurity and learn how to operate specific tool sets and also how to identify risks on network for state agencies and various other organizations that we have worked for. Also, I have done penetration testing, which allows us to test those security controls that are in place by the state agencies and be able to verify potential risks that may exist on their networks. Also, a little bit about the responsibilities of what the C&D team does is we conduct security assessments on state agencies to identify vulnerability threats on their networks, right? So, and what we also do, which is pretty exciting, is we play a significant role when it comes to incident response. So when we're called, we assist our teams in engaging with other interagency organizations, and we act as emergency handlers and cyber threat hunters of cyber attacks on state networks. So when it comes to threat hunting, we look from anything from commodity threat actors that could be doing bad stuff just to make money, as well as potential nation states who are intending to cause, havoc and have malicious intent behind their actions against our country, which it makes it very exciting because we're always seeing something different every time that we're dealing with an event.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, Gail. And if we can run the video, it'll show some of the stuff that we do.
It's extremely exciting to think that I don't have to only fight fires, I get to be involved in a cyber event. We want to understand before the event happens how we're going to respond and how we integrate together. We definitely don't want to learn who your partner is or who to go to during an event. So we want to know who our partners are, who we're going to work with, what resources you have and what resources I have, and how we can attack the problem together instead of finding it out after the fact.
I can shut down your power grids, but I can paralyze your infrastructure. I can access the personal data of everyone in America. I am the enemy with no face, and I can't be stopped.
For every would-be cyber attack, there's a team of U.S. Army cyber warriors who will not be defeated.
Captain Andelon, maybe you could chat about what the Guard has provided you both in terms of work capabilities and skills, and then professional skills. I know we've talked about the fact that you really enjoy what you're doing in the seat that you have with the Guard, but were you to decide to go into the civilian workforce, what do you think you'd be bringing with you, and what would be your attraction to civilian employers?
So there are several benefits within, being a member of the National Guard, but I think the biggest takeaway, if I were to move into the civilian sector from the cyber network defense, would be taking the training and the positive experiences that I've gained from being part of this team. When it comes to training, we do several hands-on. I've participated in several real-world events that have allowed me to gain, hands-on experience, and then I've also received the resources available for me to take industry-based certifications. So I would be taking back those certifications that would make me competitive in the civilian sector. And then also positive experiences in networking, because we work with interagency organizations. We work with, people local to our community, which makes you, which allows you to network within, the realm of where you're located. And if you choose to get out of the military, you have a plethora of opportunities available to you because people know you, they know your skill sets, they worked with you side by side. So that's a huge benefit of being in the Guard.
Thank you. I'll make a note about that last part of the video, which was a recruiting commercial for cyber. And as you looked at what was printed on the screen, there was actually a website that you could go to. And if you thought you were skillful as a hacker, and you picked up that website, you could go on it. And if you solved some of the problems on that website, then you became very attractive to Army cyber recruiters, and you demonstrated actually capabilities that they were interested in. So every time I see that video, it gives me chills because of the severity of the risks that we have out there. Just to our audience, you have a Q&A function, and if you have questions, please put them in the queue and we will address them as they come up. Let me turn to Major Stephanie Radford. Major Radford actually grew up in Southern California and attended West Point. She majored in civil engineering and was commissioned as a second lieutenant in 2004. She deployed to Iraq in 2005 and supported construction projects for both US troops and the Iraqi national government. Since then, she's had responsibilities in both engineering support roles for US forces, as well as driving civil projects for the Army Corps of Engineers here in the United States. She earned her master's in geological engineering at the Missouri University of Science and Technology and earned a certification as a project management professional. She's received numerous awards and decorations, including the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, the Army Commendation Medal, and the Bronze Order of the De Fleury Medal, which was actually named after a French engineer in the American Continental Army in the Revolutionary War. She's currently the Deputy District Commander for the San Francisco District. And Major Radford, if we could again start with you describing the various decision points that resulted in you going into West Point and actually selecting the particular major and discipline that you've specialized in since then.
All right, thanks, Gil. Thanks for that warm welcome and a little bit about myself. Good afternoon to all of our guests, the students that we've got on here that are watching, maybe some of our DoD counterparts, our stakeholders, our military. So it's really great we can get everybody together in an event like this. It's virtual, I got it, but it's a good way to spread education about STEM. So talking about that, obviously I have an engineering degree, so STEM is close to my heart as an engineer in the Army. I won't say it was an easy choice for me to go to West Point. It wasn't something that I grew up imagining as a young child. I did work hard in high school, and so sometimes, you think that, if I do good in school, I'll get a job and I will have a family West Point was an initial decision growing up and doing that. I think a lot of it I can give to my parents for supporting me and making sure I tried to take the hardest courses. So I did take a lot of AP classes, you know, in high school. I was salutatorian of my high school class in 1999, so long ago. I'm aging myself. My sister ended up actually going to the Naval Academy, and I think that might have been kind of a tipping point for me. She had found an interest there. And so I thought maybe that might be a path that I too want to go down. And my parents kind of urged us to go into the military, my dad being enlisted in the Air Force earlier on in his life. He ended up working out at NASA in Southern California. So there's some impacts there of things that I was exposed to as a child of, you know, creativity, drawing, a lot of outdoors, but, you know, a lot of things that were related to math, to technical expertise, to certifications, engineering, always finding new ways to express yourself. And so when I had the opportunity to apply and go to West Point, all those things came into play. And a lot of people know kind of how West Point is developed, but it is a 4-year academy. It is one way that you can be commissioned into the military. When you graduate, you know, you become an officer in the Army. Each of the branches has a similar academy. You've got the Air Force, the Navy. There's even the Merchant Marine Academy. Lots of opportunities to do that. And while you're at West Point, you do a 4-year time like a normal academy, but not. It's a lot more classes, a lot more credits, a lot of military focus. And you look at choosing your degree that you want to focus on somewhere around that. You got to lock it in that second semester of your second year there. So you get a lot of chance to see different types of courses. Engineering really stood out to me as I was younger, but growing up, only because I do like a lot of art, a lot of sketching. I enjoyed building things as a kid. And so engineering definitely became my top choice. And then civil engineering more so. Not a big fan of electrical engineering or mechanical. I don't enjoy the moving parts. I enjoy designing, imagining the stationary things and how you would build them, how you would put them into effect. You know, bridges, roads, anything you can think of, a civil engineer has that basic knowledge to be able to do. And so after my second year, I did choose to go into civil engineering and got my bachelor's in that degree. I mean, as you talked about, I do have a master's in geological and a certification in project management, which is helpful to me here in the Corps of Engineers.
Very good, thank you. Want to go to your video?
Yeah, let me do a quick introduction. So a lot of folks have been tracking COVID and things that have been going on. One of the things that USACE does, of course, is to respond to the nation's disasters or emergency situations. And so you'll see in this video a basic explanation of kind of like an Army care facility that we developed to respond to the COVID pandemic. All right, if Brandon, you can run the video.
U.S. Army Corps of Engineers continues to make significant progress in its efforts to support the FEMA-led response to the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Nationwide, USACE has received 5 FEMA mission assignments totaling in $357 million and has more than 250 personnel providing support. One of the FEMA mission assignments for approximately $350 million was issued to USACE's North Atlantic Division for facility assessments, planning, engineering, design, and construction of alternate care facilities in New York. During emergencies, USACE is the federal government's lead public works and engineering support agency. The New York district has been hard at work conducting site visits to determine the necessary steps to convert existing buildings into alternate care facilities. The first conversion will take place at the Jacob Javits Center. USACE is well underway in its coordination and planning efforts to adapt 160,000 square feet of space, which will be designed for alternate care facilities. The conversion will include multiple floors and when complete will include approximately 3,000 beds in order to optimize the maximum capacity of the facility.
Back to you, Major, and maybe you could chat again about the skills that you've developed and the transferability of those skills and expertise into the civilian community.
Yeah, Gil, I can definitely do that. And so you saw in the video, a lot of things had to come together to make that happen. And in the Corps, we have a lot of opportunities, obviously, for people that have engineering degrees, but you know, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is still the Army. And so, of course, as an officer, I have the, you know, opportunity to serve as the deputy, and we do have a commander. Most districts are organized that way. But, you know, with this amazing, you know, opportunity to create and do something new, USA's brought together, you know, people with all kinds of different backgrounds. You had engineers, you had, you know, mechanical engineers, civil, electrical, you know, even, you know, people with degrees in biology, mathematics, to figure out how we can create a design with never having done this before, using, you know, these teams, these centers of excellence that came together. They published designs, you know, and you're asking for receiving a request from the state for emergency assistance. Sometimes less than 30 days, we've received a notice, a need to the Corps. The Corps worked through FEMA and the state and constructed these facilities in less than 30 days. And that's because of the fact that we have so many opportunities for people with different varying backgrounds, not just STEM, and STEM is great, but, you know, you can be, you know, a regular, you know, mechanical worker. You can work on a dredge with the Corps of Engineers. You know, you can be a ranger out at a field site or a project site. So there's so many opportunities that tie into that. And that's obviously a great opportunity for me. That's how I was able to get my program management, you know, professionalized certification. Was actually as a captain. I was stationed in Portland with the Corps of Engineers there, and I was able to do my certification during that time. So there are a lot of opportunities to support folks that want to join the Army. You know, there's 21 different MOSs in the Army that are engineer related. You have vertical, construction, plumbing, you know, concrete mixing, firefighters. Those are all the engineering based MOSs that someone could join as enlisted, even to get certifications that can help you when you get out of the military or if you stay in. But there's all kinds of opportunities, and that's a great way for people to also then transfer into the civilian world. So as much as the other panelists have talked about it, you know, you learn so much in any type of the military, and I won't put Army above the Marines or the Navy. It's a great opportunity to get an education, get certifications, get schooling for free, get leadership development that will help you in a career outside of the military.
Very good, thank you, Major. Let's turn to Ensign Trevor Layman, who's the Public Affairs Officer and Marine Science Officer on the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Healy, which is the largest polar icebreaker operated by the United States. He actually started out as a teacher after earning a degree at the University of Washington and a master's in archaeology in Istanbul, Turkey. He joined the Coast Guard as an enlisted reservist and then worked down in Antarctica as a civilian and joined the active duty Coast Guard, earning his commission in Officer Candidate School at the Coast Guard Academy. He was then assigned to the Healy, serving in a number of positions from deck watch to supporting the civilian scientists who deploy to the Arctic on the Healy to do research. Among other awards, Ensign Layman has received the Arctic Service Medal and the Antarctic Service Medal, which I have to say probably is not a combination of medals that very many people are awarded. And with that, let me turn it over to you, Trevor.
Thank you, Gil. I appreciate the introduction, and thanks to everybody working to help out behind the scenes to make this possible. Yeah, I guess I can elaborate a little bit more about the path, and that was a nice introduction. But as you mentioned, I had been a teacher, and perhaps like Major Samuel, I had studied, actually had not studied STEM in my undergrad career, and this was kind of part of what was cool about the Coast Guard, was it gave me a chance to really open some doors into some things that I had not exposed myself to as a younger person. The MOS, so to speak, that I was pursuing was something called Marine Science Technician, and that's something that's unique to the Coast Guard. And basically, that's kind of like a federal regulatory type job, not unlike people who work for the EPA or for OSHA, who are assuring basically safety and environmental compliance for large waterfront facilities or foreign ships that visit the United States. So you may not think, when you think of the Coast Guard, of people who are kind of like leafing through the Code of Federal Regulations and trying to apply that to a foreign container vessel, but that's actually something you can do even without a college degree in the Coast Guard, and that's where I got my start as a marine science technician. I think also what attracted me about it was the fact that the Coast Guard Reserve is consistently mobilized to respond to environmental disasters, and those are the kind that are recurring, like hurricanes, and you know, as a young person seeing the effect of Hurricane Katrina and others, and thinking and seeing also the scale of Coast Guard mobilization in response to that, as well as man-made disasters like the Deepwater Horizon incident in the Gulf, and in previous generations, the Exxon Valdez oil spill, and marine science technicians, but many jobs in the Coast Guard are enabled to respond to those. So that was a very attractive idea to me, that I could be a high school teacher by day, but then, you know, if some disaster happened, I could role model for my students, look, I'm responding to this calamity that's the effect of Earth's changing climate or the effect of poor decision making and help mitigate some sort of environmental disaster. So I had did not have an ambition to be an officer at first, but I was very interested in polar ice breaking for those same reasons, that there's a little bit of an environmental conscience that goes along with thinking about how the polar region is changing and the ice is melting very rapidly. And believe it or not, the Coast Guard is responsible for the nation's ice operations portfolio. It's one of the lesser known jobs the Coast Guard does. And in fact, the Coast Guard does an implausibly broad range of jobs, in addition to the ones I've already mentioned, in addition to the ones you probably know about, like law enforcement and search and rescue. The Coast Guard is responsible for polar ice breaking. So what does that mean? Basically, supporting oceanographic and scientific research in the Arctic and in the Antarctic, breaking a channel to America's research station at McMurdo Station so that supply ships can come down there. So that's both logistical and science support in a very challenging and beautiful environment, the Arctic. So I applied for Officer Candidate School and I was accepted. I would say I was probably not accepted on the basis of my merits as an enlisted person, because I had not been enlisted for very long. But in fact, I got into OCS on the basis of my accomplishments as a civilian. So for those of you in the audience who are thinking, you know, that you should join the military at a relatively young age and work your way up, that's obviously a demonstrated like path of success. But also, if you're someone who's thinking of maybe getting involved at a little bit later stage of life after having already achieved a civilian degree, that's also okay. You can get involved in your later 20s, your earlier 20s, early 30s. There's ways to do it, especially in the reserve and part-time forces. There's a lot of flexibility there. So I was accepted to OCS, and I was fortunate that they had an icebreaker billet open on Coast Guard Cutter Healy, where I'm currently serving. So as an ensign, if you don't know, that is the absolute bottom of the officer food chain. So I'm happy to represent the O1s to our young audience here. And it also, in the Coast Guard at least, means I'm within my first 18 months of active duty service. So I can't tell you much more about being an officer apart from Coast Guard Cutter Healy, where my primary job is to drive the ship as a deck watch officer in ice and in open sea conditions, as well as my collateral duties, which I'm doing now as public affairs officer, and then also liaison with the science as marine science officer. And this is perhaps a little window into the Coast Guard in that we're very small, so all of us have to wear an implausible number of hats and do a bunch of different jobs. Certain personality types are not going to be attracted to that, but for me, it adds a lot of variety, which is very enjoyable. So without further ado, we can take a look at the video, and that'll give you a little impression of the scientific support the Coast Guard is doing in the high latitudes.
And Brendan, if you can pump the volume on that, that'd be good. Thanks.
And a few icebreakers, but ships that are both icebreakers and research vessels, that's rare. Healy is America's most capable ice-breaking science platform. In addition to science,
Healy is fully capable of taking on traditional Coast Guard missions like search and rescue or stopping illegal fishing.
Alaska, the state that makes the United States an Arctic nation, is American soil, and so it's part of the Department of Homeland Security mandate to make sure that they're protecting the people of Alaska and understanding the changes that are occurring, monitoring them, and understand their role for policy. Coast Guard has really taken the initiative in asserting surface presence in the Arctic and building partnerships and really sustaining partnerships over time, as well as building response capability related to search and rescue, oil spill response, and being a very important partner for building regional cooperation.
Most people don't know that the Coast Guard is actually required by federal law to support oceanographic research.
The platform that Healy provides for scientific research is incredibly important and valuable to the nation. I remember last year, the scientists had detected harmful algae blooms at a higher latitude than had previously been recorded, and they were able to alert the subsistence community to that presence, because that can lead to paralytic shellfish poisoning. You shouldn't hunt here. And that's really important at the ground level, but then also in terms of that much larger research infrastructure to support sustained observation, detecting and understanding the changes that are occurring in the Arctic. The platform that Healy provides is just absolutely crucial to that.
We study polar water temperatures, ice thickness, microorganisms in the seafloor, atmospheric chemistry. We map parts of the seafloor that have never been studied before. In fact, it's estimated that Healy is responsible for mapping around 10% of the Arctic seafloor that humanity knows about. We have A-frames to lower instruments over the side, oceanographic winches, sensors of every kind, a big aft working deck, multiple laboratories, and room for 50 scientists.
Standing on the bridge with crew and scientists and scanning the horizon with binoculars, looking for birds and whales, that was just so incredible. The whole experience is really unlike anything I've experienced before.
Supporting science in the Arctic is very logistically challenging, but also very rewarding when we pull together and we get the work done.
It's one thing to read about the Arctic and the challenges of operating in the high north, but it's quite another to live and breathe it for weeks on end and experience that day-to-day operational perspective. I've heard it said that the fate of the Arctic, and especially the fate of the Greenland ice sheet, is the fate of Miami. And I think that's a very good way to drive home the idea that what is happening in the Arctic is not isolated to the Arctic, and that it does have very serious global implications.
Stuart, Trevor, excellent video. Now you had a specific career interest, an interest in the environment and in climate change, et cetera, that drove you into the Coast Guard here. You've developed a lot of skills by training and on the job. What do you see as the applicability in the civilian world? Although my guess is that you're very happy doing what you're doing here, but were you to shift into the civilian track, what would be the kinds of opportunities available to you?
Sure. I think there are a lot, and you can sort of divide them into two categories, like there are the soft skills and then the more concrete ones. Of those intangible soft skills, I say by far the most important was teamwork, like easily. In the military, the work that we have to do in some ways involves performing at almost like a superhuman level, like doing what we call 24-hour science. And an individual can't perform at a human level, but groups of people can. Like, I could not work 24 hours week after week after week, but a team of people can meet that level of expectation and meet that level of performance. And so working effectively as a team was not necessarily something I had been exposed to in my previous career, where as an educator, as a teacher, was kind of like, you know, I was kind of running the classroom, but I wasn't integrated into a group of adults working together. So that would be one that I can't imagine you would be involved with any aspect of the military and not come out of it better at teamwork. So that would be the one. And then as far as concrete skills, what I would say is that at least what I've done, you would come out of it very well equipped for working in the nautical industry. So if you were interested in driving a ship or being a part of a crew, it is an expanding field of work where there are a lot of opportunities around the world. Ships are being created at a rate as fast as ever. Ports are expanding in every American city that has one of any size. And also you learn about how to interact with the government as a civilian, because you know how the Coast Guard and regulations work because you've been in the Coast Guard. You know about the rules that govern ship traffic. Captain Scouten had mentioned like the volume of our economy that goes on the sea. Well, the Coast Guard is the one responsible for creating what's called aids to navigation. Those are kind of like the traffic signs that enable ships to get around in a way that's safe and consistent. And so if you were to have all that knowledge and then go work on the civilian side, you could easily find yourself employment in the maritime sector. Now, there are many other aspects of the Coast Guard that I don't have firsthand experience of, but that's what I would say for the sort of work that I've done so far.
Very good, excellent. I'm going to just address a couple of questions that have come up here, and then what I'd like to do is to just chat a little bit with the group about what exactly the different services are doing locally here in California, particularly Northern California, with respect to some of the disaster challenges that we face. One individual asked whether it's worth going to college and then enlisting or going ROTC and becoming an officer. And maybe I could start with Major Samuel on that in terms of the different tracks that you've seen and what the considerations are across those different paths that people have to think about.
Yeah, you know, I was looking at that chat question and I was contemplating just jumping in and answering it. So thank you for giving me the opportunity. And what I was thinking I would say is, it depends. It really depends on where you are in life and what you're looking to accomplish. For me, it was very straightforward. I wanted to go into the infantry. I had a degree. The selection officer said he didn't have any availability for me. So then I talked to the enlisted recruiter. It was available. So that's the path I took. You know, I wasn't even thinking about, you know, becoming an officer, enlisted or whatnot. I just knew I wanted to be infantry. So for me, it was more important to get the job that I wanted than it was, you know, I guess the rank or the position. You know, I figured eventually I would become an officer, and once I got in, you know, I could sort that out. But for me, it was more important when I joined. So I guess the person who is making this decision has to decide, you know, what is it that's most important to them right now in their life? Is it important for them to be an officer right now? Is it important for them to get an education that is paid for, you know, by ROTC? Or is it more important for them, you know, to serve, and it doesn't matter which route they take? So from person to person, it just depends.
Captain Scouten, perspective from your side?
Yeah, I agree with Major Samuel. You know, I know a lot of junior enlisted people that, shoot, my sons included, that really don't know what they want to do with the rest of their life. And they're looking out there and the job market's not really that strong for someone who's just coming straight out of high school. And I think the military offers a really good opportunity to get your feet wet and to really experience a wide variety of professions. So, you know, from a medical standpoint, I see a lot of enlisted folks coming in and practicing in the various medical fields, even in administration, and even working with the Marines as in the Fleet Marine Force as 8404s, and getting all of that experience having a paycheck, being a part of a team, checking the box, many of them with their family that have also served in the military. You know, this is a legacy thing. They want to do their part, and so they do it. And then all of a sudden, at the end of their time, some of them transition to become officers, some of them transition to the civilian sector, and others continue on as enlisted and become leaders of the enlisted. So I completely agree with Major Samuel. It really depends.
One of the things I've noticed in talking to Army recruiters, and if I go into a typical recruiting station and sit down with recruiters, 9 times out of 10, every single one of those recruiters has earned some degree, some post-high school degree, or is working on a degree. And it's just the nature I've found in terms of the military across all the services that people are always working and taking advantage of the education opportunities. And there are many people who enlist who don't have the resources to go to college and pay for those high fees, but they find that route once they join the military. So interesting dynamics in terms of the options that people have. And to that question, I think what you've seen here is several different paths. The ROTC path, direct to an academy path, and then people who had degrees who then were able to go to officer candidate school, which is a faster route. So the military really provides a broad range of opportunities to advance, whether it's in the enlisted world or in the officer community. There's one question here that goes to you, Captain Scouten, and one person asked whether the hospital ships are armed.
That's always a question. Thank you very much for asking it. Of course, all the big white ships with red crosses are covered, protected under the Geneva Conventions. But in this day and age, some actors out there don't really follow the Geneva Convention. So whenever the hospital ship is deployed, we always deploy with a small tactical force that typically drives around in ribs, which are boats, surface boats, and they are armed. And we have 2 M50 machine guns on the that are mounted on the side. So yes, we do have arms, but only for self-defense and only in duress.
Thank you. Well, we have run longer than I anticipated here, and I just want to cover just briefly the fact that all of the services represented here are providing tremendous support here in Northern California, and certainly in the context of the disaster planning in the event of an earthquake, would all be active in supporting people in San Francisco. On the fires, you have the Guard, you have the active duty soldiers from JBLM up in Washington, and both sailors and Marines have been fighting the worst set of fires we've ever experienced here in Northern California. In the case of an earthquake, Army Corps of Engineers would be active in clearing waterways here. And just to note in particular what the Guard has done, they have supported food bank activities here across the state and have delivered 94 million meals to Californians in need. And they've also provided tremendous medical support to skilled nursing facilities and hospitals as well. So it's something that the average civilian is not typically aware of, but we want to bring it to your attention. So with that, what I want to do is thank everybody on this call here for your participation here and spending some time talking about your stories, as well as thank the support here, Brendan Davis, Crystal Navarro, and Josh Bragg. So thank you very much all. And you can find on the Fleet Week website, which is fleetweeksf.org. On the STEM page, you'll find links with icons to all of the branches here and links to websites that give you more information on what's been discussed today.